Maserati trident, an emblem synonymous with sound, passion, and excitement. Or at least it used to be, because Maserati, like the world around it, is changing. The Italian giants are in the process of an evolution that should ensure its survival in a changing automotive landscape. But it's an evolution that might be at odds with everything it's previously stood for.
Maserati. They don't just make cars. They make cars that are famous for sounding good, being emotionally captivating, and also thrilling to drive. Their checklist? Very simple. High performance, long driving range, and racing pedigree.
But this is the new GranCabrio Folgore, Maserati's first ever fully electric convertible. And those critical Maserati ingredients seem difficult, if not impossible, to deliver in an EV. So, does that make the Folgore a fool's errand? Or does Maserati see something the rest of us don't?
We'll find out the answer to that in just a moment, but before that, let me explain what we're working with here. The Gran Cabriolet is the drop-top version of the Gran Turismo, and Folgore means this is the electric version of those cars. Folgore, in case you're wondering, is Italian for lightning, and it's very apt because this car is lightning quick.
Under the surface, the Folgore uses not one, not two, but 3 electric motors, one at the front and 2 at the rear, each making 340 horsepower. Add all that together and you get 1,020 horsepower. But fortunately for the tires and the driver, the Folgore never quite makes that much power.
And that's because the battery simply can't deliver that kind of power, which means they've had to restrict it to 761 horsepower. Yeah, pretty pathetic, I know. Only joking. This is the most powerful Maserati that Maserati has ever Maserati'd. It is a rocket ship.
Building on Maserati's motorsport heritage, the motors are actually inspired by the units the company used in their Formula E race cars, as well as the silicon carbide inverters. At peak, they're able to deliver a ridiculous 1,015 Nm of torque.
Now, I'm not a rocket scientist, but it's the sort of thing that should translate to incredible acceleration. And they've even given it a drag race mode, so I suppose we should probably give it a go. Launch control active, foot on the brake, paddle again, accelerate, go! Whoa! That is rapid.
The Folgore will do 0 to 62 in 2.8 seconds. That's a tenth quicker than the Maserati MC20 supercar. Top speed, 180 miles an hour, which is about as fast as anyone would want to go with the roof down.
It's the torque that gets you, 1,015 Nm. I mean, those are Veyron numbers. You put your foot down and the thing just teleports.
So, Maserati have the performance box ticked, and to some degree the motorsport box too. But what about the other renowned aspect of Maserati ownership, the sound? Well, there isn't much of it.
This car does make a sound. It's a kind of a low-pitched electronic noise, but it's not particularly interesting. Interestingly, Maserati will sell you a version of this car that uses the 3-litre V6 from the Maserati MC20 supercar, but before you run out and splash your cash on that thinking that's going to sound better, don't, because it doesn't. The Nettuno engine is a wonderful piece of design, but it sounds, it doesn't sound great at all. Unless you're willing to chop the exhaust off and straight pipe the thing, the grass isn't always greener on the petrol side, not in this day and age.
One thing Maserati definitely didn't get wrong, the looks. This is a gorgeous piece of design, and whether you opt for the petrol-powered car or the Folgore, the GranCabrio is breathtaking to look at. Some might say justifying the £184,000 price tag, although it is $5.5 more than the coupe. It's a symphony of smooth, harmonious lines, with the traditional long bonnet leading into a familiar Maserati grille adorned with the famous trident. There are no individual elements that are especially shouty, particularly from the rear, where you'll find a modest diffuser. To me, it's a timeless piece of design that is somehow greater than the sum of its parts.
A few things I want to show you. First of all, the recharging port is sat right here on the back left, fully motorized, very cool. Also, there you go. Also, it makes a very strange noise. If you listen down here, it makes this low electronic sound, which is a bit pointless, although I suppose it alerts pedestrians to your presence. And then the wheels are another cool touch. Now, Maserati is one of very few manufacturers still making 3-spoke wheels, and they look phenomenal and pay a really nice tribute to the Maserati Trident. Also, if you look behind the wheels, what you'll notice is that the car comes with a choice of caliper colors. These are copper, and that's what I'd go for because they perfectly match the Folgore badge just up here.
I should also mention the paint. This particular one is a Grigio Incognito, a free option, but Maserati will sell you almost any color you want for a price. Its custom high-end paint finishes can command a price of almost £15,000. Better buy that PPF then. Just don't expect much in the way of practicality. It's a 2+2, but it's only really big enough for kids or small adults in the back. And the boot, what's the Italian word for useless? Let me know in the comments.
There's a lot to like about the interior though. The quality of the materials is absolutely spot on. I'm talking Bentley levels here. This leather, gorgeous. Look at the stitching on the headrest with the Maserati detail. Absolutely tremendous. There's even some carbon fiber in the center, which is just a joy to look at and smell and taste. Don't ask me how I know that. I also love the technology in this car. You've obviously got this display for your driver information, pretty standard stuff, but then you've got this dual display in the center console. The uppermost one gives you full control of the car's various features. It's incredibly customizable and gives you a wealth of information, including things that you don't normally get in a lot of electric cars, including the temperature of your high voltage battery. But down here, this screen, very useful. This is what controls your various climate control features. And I don't normally like digital climate controls, but this, spot on, because look at what they've done. They allow you to press on it and then move your finger up and down and then pretty much haphazardly move around to increase the temperature, and the same for the fan. So as long as you press the correct location to begin with, you can then just drag it left and right without really paying attention to what you're doing. And that is, I think, the best implementation of a digital climate control I've seen in any car. It might even be better than physical buttons, don't at me. Also, let me draw your attention to this display up here. On old Maseratis, that would be the analog clock, but up here, this actually can be customized to be a bunch of different things. For example, it can be a clock, it can be a compass, it can be a pedal gauge for your brake and your accelerator, or it can be a G meter. Very, very cool. However, it's not all flowers and rainbows in this car. There are a few things I'm not a fan of. For example, these drive switches here for park, neutral, and drive. Why do they look like they've come off an old 80s VHS or a blender or something? I don't want that to control going forward and backward in my £200,000 car. Also, the stereo, abysmal. It's by Sonos Faber or something. And I can tell you one thing for sure, whoever designed this stereo has never ever listened to rap music in their life, because there's no bass in this system at all. And then finally, there are these little vents on the seat backs designed to blow warm air at your neck when you're driving in cold temperatures with the roof down. Lovely thought, absolutely useless because they're tremendously weak. I generate more wind just by blinking. So, a few things to sort out.
Now, what about the elephant in the room? Range. Maserati claimed to have invented the Grand Tourer, and with it the concept of driving long distances across continents. And this foray into electrification brings plenty of challenges where that's concerned.
The range, it's an issue. Maserati, or rather the WLTP, claim this thing can do 280 miles on a charge. You want to know what I claim? I claim bullshit. Not going to happen, especially on a motorway. And I know that because I decided to film this car on these beautiful roads out here in South Wales, and it's only a distance of around 150 miles from my house. The car was reading 280 fully charged. As soon as I put the destination in the sat nav, the car said, no, not going to happen. You're going to need to stop and charge.
The good news is that I wasn't short of chargers. The car will even tell you which one of the 14,000 rapid and ultra-rapid chargers in the UK is the most convenient for you to stop at and deploy its extremely rapid 270 kilowatt 10 to 80% in 20-minute DC charging ability.
So yeah, London to Monaco in this, not gonna happen. Do yourself a favor and jump in a plane. Or don't go chasing waterfalls. Stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to. Because around town, on normal roads, in your own country, That's where this car excels. It is phenomenal to drive. The suspension, air suspension, as standard, is incredibly smooth. It's quiet, roof up or roof down, double glazing, multi-layered roof. It feels plush. There's a little bit of scuttle shake in the chassis, so it's not quite Rolls-Royce levels, not quite Bentley ballpark, but it's not far off, you know.
But this is a Maserati, so another important question is it fun to drive?
People often think of EVs as one-trick ponies, but not the Folgore, because this, above all, is a Maserati, and it is a delight to drive. The steering, beautifully weighted. Not much feel, but tremendously accurate, and it's got so much grip going into a corner. You can feel the weight when you get greedy with the speed, but I'm genuinely surprised about how capable this car feels and how fun it feels when you're threading it through a series of corners. I'm genuinely impressed with how composed it feels, how supple the suspension is, how it absorbs the imperfections in the road for the most part, and also how it doesn't feel like every other EV. Most other EVs use a skateboard platform, so a big battery all the way along the bottom of the car, but this doesn't. It uses batteries that are mounted through the center, going in a T-shape towards the back, and that means my seating position is much lower than you'd ordinarily get in an EV, so I feel more connected to the car. You also get what feels like a much more conventional center of gravity. I don't know if it's in my head, but this doesn't feel like an electric car. It feels like a real sports car. It feels like a Maserati.
The 3-motor layout helps massively too. By using 2 electric motors at the rear, the Folgore can send 100% of torque to one wheel or the other, allowing it to rotate into bends with surprising enthusiasm.
The torque vectoring in this car is just monumental. The fact it has 3 electric motors just allows it to shuffle the power around and get the best possible performance depending on what you need at any given time. So for example, if you're in GT mode or economy mode, this is a predominantly front-driven car. It's the front motor that's taking the lead, but whack it into Corsa or Sport mode and suddenly it becomes a lot more rear-biased. Chuck it into a corner and accelerate and you can actually see that it's the outside wheel that's pushing on, giving you a lot more torque to get the car turned in and resist that understeer. It's remarkable the way it works. There's not many cars out there that can achieve that. Petrol cars, no chance. Most electric cars, no way.
So the Folgore does make a lot of sense, especially when you compare it to its rivals, of which there are approximately 0. You see, in the world of luxury performance, full electrification is still rare. Bentley, no EV yet. Porsche, the Taycan is a masterpiece, but it's a different beast. Rolls-Royce, the Spectre exists, but it's in a totally different price bracket. Maserati is almost alone in this space with no direct competition, and that means they're probably ahead of the curve. Everyone else who wants to play in this space is playing catch-up.
Obviously, this is a very different Maserati. In this car, it's not about the sound, it's not about the engine, it's not about the long-distance driving capability. But even though it lacks those elements, there's still enough Maserati DNA, still enough desirability, still enough fun factor to make this a very compelling package. When I first jumped in this car, I didn't think I'd like it. Now, I might just love it.